What's up, everybody? Welcome to the very first episode of the Late Night Podcast. My name is JayLateNites, and I am an artist, producer, father, but above all titles, I am a creator. I recently stumbled into a book called The Artist's Way from Julia Cameron. I've been reading this book for about maybe 2 weeks, and I'm a slow reader, I must say. So it's been taking me a little bit, but I gotta say, I kind of feel like I stumbled into this book at perfect timing. The very first few pages, this lady talks about how she was teaching people how to become more creative and be able to create freely, which is something that I feel like a lot of us artists or creatives, we get to that point, where you kind of feel like writer's block, or you feel like you don't really have no inspiration. And for me, even since I was young and I first started making music, sobriety was always something that I've dealt with. And I've always felt like in order for me to create these songs and words, usually I had to be in an altered state of mind. And this has been something that I've been conflicted with pretty much my whole artist career. And this book, it kind of talks about it. And ironically enough, this year I'm actually starting a documentary called Breaking RoCo, where I'll be going home and interviewing people that, I have drawn inspiration from and just, have gotten a little bit of guidance from through their story. And I want to talk to them people and just kind of share their stories so that people from back home can see the positives and the negatives of, the cycle that lives inside of my hometown. I was raised in a really small town, Rutherford County, and addiction is something that runs deeply in that county. And I know that a lot of people struggle with depression and addiction in that county. A lot of people that I was friends with growing up, a lot of people that I am friends with still to this day. And it's kind of sad to continue to see how this cycle affects all these people around me. And so I just wanted to talk about it. I just wanted to begin a conversation on this. And it was kind of weird at first when I first thought about this, because it kind of felt disrespectful to go out and find people to talk about when I needed to talk about myself first. Because I've been struggling with an addiction for the last 9 years. It's not something that I've ever been public about, but if you're around me long enough, it's something that is evident. Of course, my addiction, not to minimize it or to make it seem minuscule or to dismiss it, it's not to the levels of concern or where anybody around me should feel like, oh my God, I've been smoking tobacco, cigarettes, and nicotine since I was young. I actually quit smoking cigarettes when I was about 16, 17, and since quitting, I started, smoking vapes. Last year, at the beginning of this year, I actually threw my vape away. But I still smoke cigars, Black and Milds, every now and then. So I'm struggling with this addiction. And thankfully, it's not something that's hindering me from making music or progressing, but it is still nonetheless an addiction. And I wanted to talk about it and address it and fight it with you guys, kind of just documenting the whole thing, my whole journey, as I make this documentary called Breaking RoCo, sharing light on other people who've also broken from their addictions or broken from their cycle. So continuing on to this book, Julia Cameron speaks on how she had gave up drinking, and she kind of felt as if she gave up drinking, that possibly her creative side would take a fail or a step back, would you say, because of the fact that she felt like her creativeness was coming from this space that she had found comfort in. And I can resemble that because, on to another point, I do smoke. I do like to partake in the 420, and I do, get into an altered state of mind. And thankfully, this is not something that I feel like is an addiction to where I feel like tobacco is, because I can tell the attachment and the bond that I have with tobacco, which does nothing to my mind, versus, weed, which doesn't really, although yes, it does give me that altered state. It's not something that I'm yearning for, looking out for. If I don't have it, I won't go stressed out, but vice versa. Without tobacco, I kind of feel like my world's going dark when I don't have it. And like, it'll be 3:00 in the morning and I'll drive to the gas station just to go get it. But weed, I'm not really doing that for. And it's kind of crazy because to me, when I smoke and I get into an altered state of mind, it helps me create more. So why would I be addicted to tobacco and want it so much when it's doing nothing for me? It doesn't give me any sense of boost as far as creativity. It's just the addiction itself. So understanding this about myself, I know that I had to kind of stop and attack this head on, because I think about my future. I think about my kids and being around here for a long time and having a good health and being able to run at a later age, and doing this toll on my lungs at an early age surely cannot be helping. So yeah, I just wanted to begin the discussion about my addiction and how I'm handling it and how I want to attack it, where I'm coming from. I've done all the necessary steps leading up until this point. I've changed my diet. I now eat healthy. I had to find a reason for me to change my diet, and for me it was my gut health. And that's kind of driven me a long way. When you're sitting on the toilet hurting for hours, do something to you, bro, and you'll really think twice about what you put into your stomach. And that for me was a great thing. For me, I feel like I always just need something catastrophic to push change. And it might not be catastrophic to you, but it is to me, and that's all that matters. When I quit smoking cigarettes, I had this pain in my lungs, and I felt like, oh my God, I'm dying. I have to quit. And I never smoked a cigarette again. With vaping, I don't know what it was. I just kept on seeing all these things about lungs and your heart, and I'm very conscious about heart problems in my family. So every time I hit a vape, it would do something to my brain where it felt like something was happening internally to my heart or my cardiac system, whatever you want to call it. And it pushed me to the point where I was like, I'm throwing this away. And, it may not be catastrophic to you, but it was to me. And I feel like you have to find that catastrophic point that makes you think, I don't want to do this. And once you find that, it's going to be enough to start. And once you start, you just don't look back. So for me personally, I just started changing things out. Like, I love sweet tea. I've drank sweet tea my whole life. It's like my number one favorite drink. But I replaced sweet tea with green teas and hibiscus and more natural stuff, more natural loose leaf tea. I haven't really gotten into the whole chamomile and all the more bitter teas that there is out there, but I'm still it's still flavorful, it's still good, I still enjoy it. Like, I made a hibiscus blueberry green tea the other day, which was like fire. It's good, but it's changing my philosophy on what I make to drink. As far as food, I've been just meal prepping and eating more stuff that I like to eat, like steaks and chicken and salads, Caesar salads, and finding different dresses I like, just to kind of push myself more into that direction of being in a healthy mindset. Because I feel like part of addiction is finding comfort in that routine that you have. Whether it be the people, the feeling, the sensation, the area, the smell, you find comfort in those routines. And for me, I had to replace my routines that I knew were bad with good things. Even if they didn't directly correlate to my addiction, I still knew I had to attack them and change that. The second thing I started doing was just running. The beginning of last year, I started running a lot, and it felt great. One of the first runs that I had was actually very transformative for me, because I rented out a cabin in Tennessee for my family. It was the first time I got to do something like that and go on a vacation. And at the very top of the mountain there was this treadmill in a gym house, and it just overlooked all the mountains, and like it had like a whole 360 view glass all around it. And I remember just running, and it felt like I was running through the woods and running away from the past, running away from all the things that I used to be. When I was younger and going through Rutherford County, I spent a lot of my time walking and traversing on feet through Rutherford County. So running now, it feels very much so tied into it, but I'm changing that routine, I'm changing that pattern. Instead of me walking miles to find somewhere to stay or to find my next little bag to get high, I'm now running to better myself and to hopefully be here longer for my kids, and that gives me such a sense of purpose. And I'm again changing that routine of the things that used to give me comfort and replacing them with the same thing but just in a different direction. And then overall, just being more creative, starting to read this book and realizing that there's a community of people out there who are creatives, that we're all naturally creative, and that I don't have to wait until inspiration hits to be creative. I don't have to wait until I'm high to be creative. I don't have to wait until anything to be creative. The creativity is within me, and if I just continue to keep on flexing that muscle, there's the only thing that can happen from that is more creativity. I stop myself and hinder myself a lot because I feel like, as this book says, she says like she feels like she has to check her temperature first to see if she's in the mood to create. And I feel that sometimes too, but what I realize is that once I start, if I just click on it one time, and once my brain gets that first little sliver of it, I get in that flow state, and it's hard for me to stop because I'm such a perfectionist and I can't get out of it. And it's just starting. That's the hardest part. It's taking that left-hand turn and going towards the gym instead of going home. It's going past the gas station instead of stopping by to get a pack. You know what I'm saying? It's these little things, and it takes so much, but it's a quick reaction. And when you do what's natural and what you always do, you'll feel disappointed, and you're like, damn, I shouldn't have done this. But the one time that you choose not to, and you choose to do the right thing, you're gonna feel that same euphoria, that same feeling, that same sense of happiness and enjoyment that you got out of that addiction in the first place. You really just have to start. I'm excited for this year because I know that there's a lot of things that I want to accomplish. I have this agenda, this little routine list of things that I try to chisel at every single day. Reading, chord recognition, whether it maybe music, working on music, editing videos. I started this podcast. I intend to do the vlogs again, the Freeverse Fridays. And I'm not trying to wait until creativity happens to do it. I'm just going to continue to keep on doing it. Some weeks it might be bad, some weeks it might not work, but I know that if I continue to keep on flexing that muscle, it's going to be effortless. The same way that stopping by the gas station to get me a black and mild is effortless. The same way that going out of my way to go spend time on the game, playing video games versus making music is effortless to me. I hope that one day doing the right thing is effortless. But in order to do that, you just got to do it and continue to do it. That's what got you into this addiction in the first place. So understand that about your mindset, understand that about your mind, and how you can change everything about you, because that's what got you in the situation you're in now. You're so driven, you're so dedicated, you're so caught up into this cycle that you are going to do whatever it takes to maintain it. Now imagine if that was in a positive light. You're going to do whatever it takes to maintain it. Yeah, I kind of got that off that book today, and I really felt like sharing that with you guys. So I hope that helped in some way. Thank you guys.